Welcome into the Hot Read Podcast for Wednesday, September the 20th. I'm your host, Easton Freeze, director of published content here at BroadwaySportsMedia.com. We're also brought to you by the 440 Podcast Network. And you can follow me on social media at Easton Freeze. I'm joined as always by producer JT, who you can follow on social media at JT_Runke. JT, happy Tuesday as we're recording this live as we do on a Tuesday afternoon. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I can't say the same for yourself and your softball performance last night. But
Well, now hang on. Let's be fair. Maybe my best day as a fielder.
true.
But definitely
Yes.
my worst day at the plate. And that's what people are
Yes.
here for. We can talk about that in a minute. Let's get to some housekeeping first, but I will not duck.
You're not going to shy away.
I won't duck the questions here.
Okay.
I won't duck the questions from the media. Like all athletes, professional athletes, high caliber athletes such as myself, you have to address the questions from the media. So I'll be happy to do that in a second. If you're listening with us live today, thank you. Welcome in. Appreciate you coming and hanging out. And today's episode is going to be a little bit different than our typical episodes. We'll explain that in a second. But first, we are brought to you by the fabulous, the wonderful Boom Boss Pizza right here in Spring Hill, Tennessee. Just a 25 minute drive down the interstate if you are in the Nashville area. And that is where we are doing our shows on Thursday every single week this NFL season live from Boom Boss in Spring Hill. They also have locations in East Nashville, in Murfreesboro, as well as locations in Indiana and Kentucky. So you can find a Boom Boss wherever the nearest one is to you. I guarantee you will not regret traveling to find this location and finding some delicious pizza. They have some of the best pizza in the world. You don't have to take our word for it. They are 4-time winners at the Las Vegas Pizza Expos last year. They're the only pizza company in America to have won Best New Pizza in the country twice at the International Pizza Competitions, championships. And we can say firsthand that their products live up to those titles. They don't have a single thing yet that I've tried that is not delicious. We love going every single Thursday, not just because we love doing our show from there and getting to meet people and watch the game at a fabulous restaurant, but because we love having an excuse to go get that food every single week, JT. That's every week I'm looking forward to that, if I'm being honest, as I'm driving in. It's like, I can't wait to do this show, but then I can't wait to be done with the show so that we can eat some of the fabulous food that Boom Boss has to offer and grab a drink from their fantastic drink selection. They got a lot of awesome local brands, varieties that we've been trying, we've been loving. So come on out, hang out with us on Thursdays in Spring Hill at Boom Boss. Just a slight drive down the interstate from the Nashville area. You will not regret it. We're going to be hanging out every single week after our shows in the afternoon around this time to watch Thursday Night Football at the bar and eat and drink and have a good time with whoever is there. And this week, JT, I think we're going to be doing a gift card giveaway. A Boom Boss gift card will be available. I think here's what I want to do. I didn't run this by you, but here's my idea. Let's just say the gift card goes to whoever the first person that shows up and introduces themselves and says, "Hey, I'm a fan of the show. Nice to meet you. My name is this." You're going to get yourself a free meal. Seems easy enough, right? So literally just show up to Boom Boss this Thursday afternoon. We'll be doing our show live at 5:30 p.m. Of course, Thursday Night Football afterwards. First person to show up, come shake one of our hands. We want to meet you. We want to hang out and enjoy the food, enjoy the pizza, enjoy the football. Just come shake our hands and get a free meal. It's easy as that. Boom Boss Pizza in Spring Hill. Come get a free meal this Thursday and come hang out with us. All right. JT, I also want to remind our listeners to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to build up that subscriber count on Broadway Sports Media's YouTube account. So Broadway Sports Media on YouTube. That's where you should be listening to today's show live. If you're on Twitter or if you are on Facebook, leave that live stream. Go on to YouTube, look up Broadway Sports Media, find the live stream of this show there. And in the comment section, that is where we want to interact with you today. And today, JT, we have an opportunity for anybody that is listening with us live to talk about whatever's on your mind. Because today is going to be a very relaxed show in comparison to our Monday and Friday episodes. We're still kind of workshopping what we want our Wednesday, our midweek shows to be this season. I think that there's going to be some opportunities for some great guests to join us midweek throughout the year. I'm dabbling with the idea of maybe getting into some film breakdown on the video side of the show if people are interested in that. So if you have opinions on whether or not you'd be interested in hearing from some guests, breaking down some film, doing more looking back at the last week for the Titans, as opposed to looking forward to the next week for the Titans. Let us know your opinions if you are a fan of the show and you have an opinion on that. We are still feeling out what we want our Wednesdays to be. But today, we're just going to go through a potpourri, a potluck, a hot read potluck, if you will, JT, is what we're going to do today on the show. We've got a lot of different topics that are just on our minds. It's going to be very relaxed. It's going to be conversational. I'm wearing my editing headphones because, it's representative of the fact that today we're just taking it easy. And, my name is on the cover of this show. So I kind of can just do what I want. And that's what we're going to do today. We're just going to talk about whatever we want for a couple minutes and then get out of here. What do you say?
Yeah, I'm good with that. You ready to dive in, or are we going to do what you said that you weren't going to do and dodge your question?
I'm not dodging. So if that's where you want to start, we can discuss that briefly.
And this is something we haven't talked about this, I think, on this show for like
it's been a couple months,
11 months or something,
right,
since we started the show. But we continue to play rec league softball every single Monday since the show has started. And Easton, it was a performance. It was one of your performances of all time last night.
One of them of all time. Yes. It was the standout portion of my performance from last night was at the plate. We were playing a team that it's a co-ed soft pitch softball league. So it is very much a social outing, right? We're just out there having a good time on a Monday night, and we take it seriously. We like to win. We like to compete. But it's soft pitch underhand softball. Pretty much every pitcher we've come across has been just a dude, yoinking up in softball for you to hit as far as you can. We came across a guy last night who, I guess credit to him because he has developed a unique way of pitching in what should be a very straightforward league. He does this like sidearm loop around the side where he puts spin on the ball and it actually has some movement, which you don't like. It's not, it's not baseball. It's soft pitch softball. And I think it's fair to say it did not suit my eye, caught me off guard. I'm usually a stalwart OPS guy. I love to just hit singles all day. I'm usually pretty reliable in the lineup. Last night went 0 for 3 at the plate. Really, really brutal. Just head was not in it. Heart was not in it. Body clearly was not in it. In the field, I played quite well, but I hand up, I'm grinding the film this week. We're gonna have to look at and see what we did and learn and improve. So that's on me.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're getting back in the film room. You're identifying what you need to fix, and you're excited to get back out there next.
We're gonna be upset about it for about 24 hours. Then we're gonna burn the tape. We're gonna put it behind us. We're gonna move forward and get better. Exactly. We're gonna move forward and get better. Okay, now let's talk about some sports that people actually care about, not our rec league softball. Actually, I'm taking that back. I have one non-sports related thing to say today, but of all the shows we've done, this felt like the one to say it. This has been on my mind for a little bit now, and I just wanted to air my grievance. It's not sports related, but it is sort of sports related because you see this a lot. If you are on any like sports TikToks, like, if you are a person that uses TikTok, it sees a lot of sports content on there. You see a lot of this on sports TikTok. This TikTok cadence that people have started speaking with in their social media content should be illegal. It should be a felony. It should be you should be able to penalize it, I think, with the death penalty, but at least life in prison, I think should be firmly on the table. It's the way that people talk in these videos where it's like all of their inflection is really slow and robotic, and they end on you end ascending. And I'm gonna play an example of this in the microphone because I can't do I feel like I'm too normal a person to do an impression of this. It's like monotone, but also condescending at the same time. Just listen, and I think you'll know what I mean here.
Quarterback in his third season was 0-13 when his opponents scored more than 24 points, or if they were 0-12 in comeback games where they got the ball down by 7 or less points in the fourth quarter.
Where they got the ball down by 7 or less points? Like, what? Speak like a normal person. What are we doing? Why is this the preferred cadence? It's not one or two people. I don't even know who this person is. I see it everywhere, and it annoys the fool out of me. Speak like a person. Does this not bother you?
No, because it's the grind. Like, you kind of, if you want to succeed on TikTok, you kind of have to just like
you have to talk like
you have to
condescending
leave
robot.
you have to leave your dignity at the door and just give in to the algorithm, and then just kind of, and then
Does
it's like
the algorithm
you're a
not
different
reward
person.
normal speaking like a normal person?
So I've found that the only person that it has rewarded is Theo Ash, but I think that's also because people
Okay.
know that he knows ball. But
Okay.
besides that, like, I don't think there's another certified ball knower on TikTok to begin with. So like,
I don't even hate like the example I just played. You can say what he said verbatim like a normal person, and I don't have an issue with it at all. Like the content of what he's saying is fine, but the delivery, what are we doing? Bridge Lori in the comments, appreciate you being with us live. Says, I'm here because Easton is the only Titans Twitter account who doesn't pander to fans for clicks. And I appreciate it. I appreciate you, Bridge. Thank you for listening to the show and consuming our content. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like it pays to sell out in a number of different ways in this industry. And in some ways, like calculated ways, like we choose to occasionally sell out. Like we'll make our titles to episodes a little clickbaity here or there in the cold open of the podcast when we have the edited version and you have the clip from the show. Like we like to make it as clickbaity and out of context as possible because it's kind of cheeky, it's interesting, it grabs your attention. But there are times when we are brainstorming ideas like for a thumbnail or for a title, and you come with an idea and you are much more willing to just go lean all the way into let's get as many clicks as possible. And that is very, I respect the businessman in you, and that's probably better for our bottom line. However, there are times that you'll come to me with an idea and I know it will do better online for clicks and for eyeballs and for, enragement is engagement style guerrilla marketing. But I'll be like, JT, that's a picture of Trevor Lawrence on the cover of our thumbnail. I don't talk about Trevor Lawrence once in this video. And you're like, yeah, it's clickbait. And I'm like, yes, it is. But there's a difference between clickbait that is bait for something that's actually in the article or in the podcast, and then clickbait. My least favorite thing in the world, and maybe this is just me, but I feel like people will relate. When there's clickbait and you're like, oh gosh, like it's probably like whatever this is, this topic, they're really exaggerating it. If they're exaggerating the topic, but then I click in and it's actually about that topic, then fine. But whenever there's clickbait and then you click in and you're looking and never once do they talk about or mention the thing that they were using to bait you in the first place, what are we doing? Our society is crumbling. I hate it. I refuse to do it. I refuse to participate.
Old man.
I know this is old man yells at clouds. Okay. That sidetrack out of the way. Now we can talk about some football. Do you want to talk about Monday Night Football last night? It was a doubleheader. It was.
I mean, if we have to,
I mean,
the only thing to talk about is how bad I feel.
Can we talk about the Browns and then nothing else? Because the rest of it, I don't have any interest in. The only reason we're talking about the Browns is because the Titans do play them in week 3. I mean, there's some things to take away from it, but like I have no takeaways from Saints Panthers other than the Saints are a bad 2-0 team, and the Panthers, their number 1 overall pick, Bryce Young, looks like of the starting rookie quarterbacks this season, he is the one that is drowning the most pretty clearly, which is not great. That's kind of concerning. I think you're seeing some limitations on him. There's a reason why he ended up being my QB3 in this class. Like I think that the ceiling is lower than people think with him, and the physical limitations are proving to be a problem early, but it's only been 2 weeks, so we'll see. Certainly no verdict on that. The Browns, however, they end up losing to the Steelers in a very Steelers game. The only reason the Steelers were in the game to begin with, let alone win, was because of their defense scoring 2 touchdowns. The offense, Matt Canada, JT, I know you know the answer to this because we were talking about it earlier, but just humor me here. Matt Canada has been the offensive coordinator for the Steelers for 37 games now, dating back to the beginning of 2021. How many times do you think his offense has produced at least 400 yards in a game?
I mean, it's got to be like twice, right? Like, I actually
that's a good answer. Good acting. Good answer. You don't know it?
I didn't look at this. I have
this was in a group chat. I assumed you saw it. No, none. Not once. 37 games. It's the only the Steelers offense is the only one since the beginning of the 2021 season. So this is the 3rd season in a row now, ongoing, where they have not produced at least one 400-yard offensive game. Matt Canada is a disaster. I'm sure Steelers fans are ripping their hair out over him because he's very, very bad. Their defense is very, very good, though. And so they managed to win that game. The Browns are kind of in the same boat right now, it feels like. Defense seems really, really good. Obviously a new defensive coordinator hire who the Titans are very familiar with, who's really turned that ship around. And not to say that the Browns defense was bad, but they struck me the last couple of seasons as a group that on paper had the potential to be much better than they actually were. And so I think they're maybe reaching that potential more. On offense, where to start? I mean, like, Deshaun Watson is in an active battle with Russell Wilson right now for who is the biggest trade and sign mistake in NFL history. Like, I think Russell Wilson right now is actively saying, like, you think your situation with me is bad, Denver. Check out what they got going on in Cleveland with this guy, Deshaun Watson. At what point do we have, because last season we kind of chalked it up to, he hadn't played football in over a season and a half. He's going to be rusty in a new system. There's an adjustment period. When does that end? We're now 9 games into the Deshaun Watson experiment, the $230 million guaranteed experiment. And this accused sexual predator still is not good at football. There's a lot of layers, but from just a football standpoint, he's not good. Are you still giving him the benefit of the doubt? Or do you think has he lost it?
I mean, I don't see it getting any better now that they lose their blue chip, like, can't lose offensive player in Nick Chubb. Like, player. Yeah. I don't think it can get any better for him. I mean, obviously when you start the game off with a pick six, like, you just, like, it's not going to get better from there. Like, no. If you start a game like that, it's not going to get better. So, like, we'll see this week against Tennessee, like, if he can maybe put something together, but through 2 weeks, like, you can maybe excuse the first week because of how poor the weather conditions were, and that it was just a very good game for anyone on the field. But, like, last night, like, you can't start off the game like that, throwing just to a terrible progression and looking through that and reading the defense like that and just getting absolutely clowned on.
I will also say that with any team that starts their season off like the Browns have, and like the Bengals have actually, and like like all 4 NFC or AFC North teams have, your first 2 games being divisional games, like, there's a big asterisk there for me. Because divisional game, like, there's very much there's a lot of voodoo that goes on. There's a lot of, like, inside baseball, styles make fights, your opponent too well kind of thing. Like, we know divisional games in the NFL are weird. That's why we love, like, when we're betting in the best bet gauntlet, we love divisional game dogs because they tend to cover the difference between the best team in a division and the worst team in the division is usually a lot closer when they're playing each other, because that matchup is just so unique as compared to teams that don't see each other so often. And we talk about a lot in the offseason how these division teams, they're actively, intentionally building their rosters, building their football operation to compete with and to beat their fellow divisional opponents. Like, it's like they're designing weapons specifically tailored towards beating these teams in particular. So I want to see more from the Browns against non-divisional teams for sure. But Deshaun Watson, I mean, he's getting sacked like crazy. So that's also fair, I think, to say he's not getting the protection that he needs. He's not producing in the passing game really at all. Like, he's being very bad. He's been very bad for 9 games in a row. And he's got the weapons now. I don't think there's any argument that their receiving core is not cutting it. You've got Amari Cooper. You've got Elijah Moore. You've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's an underrated receiver. You've got serviceable tight ends. Certainly, I think that he's got the skill position players. I think that there's a lot of concern in Cleveland, and for good reason, with him. And the Titans game would be an ironic time for him to turn it around and just torch the Titans, which the Titans have seen him do a lot when he was with Houston. But I think the Titans have to feel relatively good about the level of quarterback play they're going to be facing this week. They also have to feel good about the reputation of their run defense maintaining through 3 weeks now, because they are not going to be seeing Nick Chubb. Nobody is going to be seeing Nick Chubb this season. Obviously, if you didn't watch Monday Night Football, he had a traumatic knee injury, bent backwards and sideways. If you're familiar with his college career in 2015, I think, against the University of Tennessee, he had a very similar style injury, a multiple ligament dislocation style knee injury. I think in 2015, he tore his MCL, LCL, PCL, or something like that, 3 of the ligaments, and dislocated his knee. And that was a massive knee recovery. We don't know yet what the specifics of his current injury are, but I mean, you look at it, there's multiple things torn there. There's multiple things dislocated there. It's not good. It's like a year plus, maybe. It's one of those injuries you look at it and you're like, that might end a running back's career, unfortunately. And it's the same knee that he hurt in college in 2015. So really upsetting for him, and it should be upsetting for any NFL fan because he's one of the most fun runners to watch in the league. And he's certainly done for a long time. He may be done for his career, which sucks. But we have to look at it from a football perspective. And the Titans are going to have a much easier time facing this team from a running standpoint. The Titans defense, already the best run D in the league, has been for a couple of going on 2 seasons now. We talked to Jack Gibbons, starting inside linebacker, yesterday at the Titans facility about, the big test that they were going to be facing this weekend. Arguably the best pure runner in the league at the moment in Nick Chubb in this great Cleveland running game. Another one of the few teams like Tennessee that has for a while now built their identity on the run game. What's that going to look like for you guys? It feels like 5 games in a row, at least, where the Titans have allowed 50-ish running yards or less and no explosive runs. Was that going to change this week? Well, we'll never get to find out because they're going to be going up against, and I've already forgotten his Jerome Ford. Is that the backup?
Yes.
Jerome Ford is the backup there in Cleveland, unless they sign somebody, which we'll talk about later in the news. That's who you're going to be facing. He had did he have 100 yards last night? He had a fine outing.
Yeah, I mean, he had a really good outing. They kind of picked up right where they left off with Nick Chubb, and he had over 100 yards. He also caught 4 balls
for Nick Chubb is a system running back. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that whatsoever.
However, Same points out Demetric Felton. Is he also still with Cleveland? Maybe. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but he was serviceable both in the running and passing game. And Stefanski came out today and said they probably will sign another running back, but going forward that he will be the feature back. And I guess, even against a good Steelers defense, who I think stopped
very good.
Well,
very
he
good.
Still was able to produce. So I wouldn't say it's like a Joshua Kelly situation again, where Joshua Kelly is not going to replace what Austin Eckler can do. But in this kind of offensive scheme where they do rely on their running backs, I wouldn't be surprised to see him have a better day.
I agree. Just some other notes I had on Monday Night Football. It should be illegal, just the entire entity that is Monday Night Football. The last 3 Monday nights where we had professional football, DeMar died. Obviously, that was the end of last year's Monday Night Football. That was the finale of Monday Night Football last year. DeMar died on the field. And then this year we kicked it off with Aaron Rodgers' Achilles snapping on the first drive of the play. And then we got the best pure runner in the sport, Nick Chubb, his knee broken like a toothpick. So note to self, I guess, don't play on Monday nights. I don't know who's playing next week. I know the Eagles are playing somebody. It's another doubleheader.
Puka Nacua. I don't make the rules.
Oh, that SoFi turf. Oh
that
no,
it's
gonna claim somebody.
With the Bengals and the Rams. I don't know who it is, but
I'm already not looking forward to going back in a week from now and finding this clip and clipping it and being like, "We told you so." Something terrible is going to happen. If I was a player going to SoFi this week, I would get sick or pull a hammy or something. I would not play personally. But yeah, just missing Nick Chubb in general, it changes the landscape for this team entirely. They did still with Jerome Ford have success running the ball last night after Nick Chubb goes down, but you look at their drop back rate over expectation in that game, pre and post Nick Chubb being in the game, and it skyrocketed their over expectation rate for drop back passes once Nick Chubb left the game. That they're going to be forced to. I think their head coach today, Kevin Stefanski, said yes, he's going to be the feature back, like you mentioned earlier. But I think the rest of that quote was you don't just replace Nick Chubb. Like, you have to change the way that you play football. And so in general for the Titans from their point of view. You now in week 1 dodge Alvin Kamara with the Saints. In week 2, you dodge Austin Eckler with the Chargers. In week 3, you're going to dodge Nick Chubb, as well as face, I think, a pretty banged up Deshaun Watson. He left that game, to me at least, it seemed like he was slow to get up on the last couple of sacks. He seemed like he was really getting tossed around in there. That was one of those classic NFC or AFC North divisional games where it's like a nobody wins this game kind of game. Everybody walks away bloodied and bruised and blackened. And I think that both of those teams are going to be significantly worse for wear physically going into week 3 than their opponents. And so the Titans' injury luck is regressing so far. We've been talking for the last 2 years now about how this team's injury luck has to go back to the mean sometime. It can't be this bad all the time. And I'm not sitting here jinxing it. It's early. Like, the Titans are going to face injury adversity because almost everybody in the NFL faces injury adversity. But so far early, they have gotten that regression in their favor a little bit. Looking ahead past week 3, obviously you're ducking Nick Chubb. In week 4, Joe Burrow's re-aggravated calf injury. He's already got some question marks, according to the press, in Cincinnati going into week 4 this week, or week 3 this week, rather. The Titans face the Bengals at home in week 4, so that could be in play. Burrow already playing bad, not mobile with that calf injury, re-aggravated it. Not even sure if he can go this upcoming week. He probably will, but we're not sure. And then in week 5, you face the Colts. Not Anthony Richardson. Well, he is in concussion protocol. I'd assume he'd be back by then, but we're not certain of that. You go back to the running back category, though, and you've got Jonathan Taylor technically can be off of the PUP list by then. But how confident are you that it's the PUP list that's keeping him off the field and not the, drama elsewhere, the situation with him and that team? Maybe he comes back and is a good soldier all of a sudden. I'd be kind of surprised by that, wouldn't you?
I would, but then he's been working. He's been getting back into gear, ready to go. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he does kind of suit up. But then again, you've seen now 3 weeks in a row. If you're Jonathan Taylor, you've seen 3 weeks now where Nick Chubb is done for the season. Austin Eckler has a high ankle sprain. Saquon Barkley has an ankle sprain that we don't really know how severe it is. What are they telling us? Would you want to come back?
Jamal Williams has a hamstring.
Jamal Williams is David Montgomery,
yep.
J.K. Dobbins. I mean, I can go on and on, I think, about these running backs. Would you
stop running backs? Don't run anymore.
Kenneth Gainwell, RB1 for the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's a nightmare. It's very dangerous. It's dangerous times to be a running back right now. It's scary hours.
Yes, I would agree.
Okay. Let's move on from that crazy Monday Night Football slate. And one question we got, I kind of put out a feeler last minute on Twitter. Anybody have any topics you want to hear talked about on the show today? And coming through at swingman_the, and then I think it cuts off because I'm assuming it doesn't just end there, but it's the name of the account, Cheesecake Factory and Ball, 2 things that I'm a fan of, asked, now that we've seen 2 games from each AFC South team, what are the updated expectations for each? The Titans these seem to be his opinions here. The Titans are about what we thought they were. The Colts are a little bit better. The Texans are a little bit worse. The Jaguars don't seem to have taken a big step forward. And then he asks, records, AFC South champion prediction, any wild cards. So let's just go team by team real quick, and we can kind of give our thoughts through 2 weeks. Again, none of this is definitive. It's 2 weeks. We're still I need at least a month's worth of data mentally and literally on paper in front of me to look at to feel like I have a great bearing on these teams. But we can kind of talk about each one and what we've thought about them through 2 weeks. And we can start with the Colts, the Indianapolis Ponies up north. Got to start with QB1, right? 2023 NFL draft class QB1, Anthony Richardson. We talked about him. I think I always claim him as my QB1. Was he your QB1 by the end or no? Or did you really not make a decisive call?
I didn't. I thought Anthony, I thought each
you
of
were
them
high
had
on
their own
him.
flaws. I thought all 3 of them had their flaws, but I wasn't putting one above the others. Really.
Well, I'm going to continue to tout the fact that I was definitive in the final month of the draft season. He is the quarterback 1 in this class. I think that he has looked much better than a lot of people were expecting from him. A guy that only started 13 games in college, comes in he left the second game against the Texans early with a concussion, which sucks. He was cooking with gas in that game. Young man was rumbling early in that game. 2 touchdowns, like 80 yards in the first 7 seconds of the game. Was looking good, and then goes down with a concussion. Zach Lyons in the comments. JT's chair height is directly proportionate to his interest in the topics. JT, you also want to leave? You have no interest in today's topics?
I guess not, apparently. Like
Zach, reader of People, has decided you are not interested in these topics. I think that Richardson looked good. I think 3 total touchdowns, 279 yards, which the passing yardage is suppressed for sure by the fact that he didn't play 2 full games. But he's not been airing it out a ton. It's been pretty efficient football as opposed to explosive football from him. But I take that as kind of a positive, because he was a guy that was touted as this big arm, explosive play guy. Obviously, the mobility is there, the size, the athleticism, all of that. But as a guy that was so green, so inexperienced coming in, I was not going to be shocked if early on he was going to be like a, big play down the field, taking shots, not throwing outside the numbers, just taking what he's given in the middle of the field and taking a couple shots to like Alec Pierce streaking up the sideline. And then other than that, kind of slicing and dicing with the legs and just taking off a bunch. Very, very stereotypical football for the prototype that he fits into. And it's not really been that so far. He's been a guy willing to take what's given to him underneath, throw outside the numbers, methodically move his offense down the field, take off when he needs to. But again, very limited film so far. I don't feel like he's bailing from clean pockets all the time. I think he's seeing the field pretty well. Everything for him has been above my expectation. I guess ahead of my mental timeline, I should say, for what he's looked like. So I've been impressed with him. I hope that the concussion doesn't keep him out for too long, because I want to see more. I've been really excited by his level of play.
I would agree too. Like you were just saying, like I think he's gone past a lot of people's expectations for timeline. Like for me personally, I thought he was going to struggle these first couple of weeks, and then as you kind of see,
I thought he'd suck for the beginning of the year. He was my favorite guy, and I thought he would stink to begin.
Yeah, I mean he hasn't been this amazing passer. Like he is 32nd out of all quarterbacks in passing yards. He's 32nd in pass attempts. Right. But like I don't think that's truly a knock on who he is, and more of just like what this Colts team is currently, and just like how they've been in these games.
Well, he's also played like 1.2 games, not 2 games.
True.
Right.
That is also true.
That he hasn't played much football so far.
But I mean, when he was running the ball last week, like he was seeing the field very well. He wasn't dodging those pockets. They were a lot more designed runs, which is not what they gave him in the first week. So like I really like what I see from him so far.
Other thoughts on the Colts? Not a ton. Their receiving core has been as underwhelming as I thought it might be going into the season. Even a guy like Alec Pierce that I'm a fan of as a prospect, and just generally I think that he has the potential to be a good football player, has been underwhelming. None of those guys have really stood out to me. Their tight end core, young guys, not really standing out. Their offensive line is playing much, much better so far this year than they were last year, which very low bar. Like they were horrendous last year. The Colts offensive line was at times rivaling the Titans offensive line last year for the worst in the league. They've played much better so far. Again, only 2 games, but that level of play is encouraging, I think, for a young team. Let's talk about the Texans now. Got to start with the quarterback again. CJ Stroud, and as much love as Richardson has gotten, I think, nationally and in the AFC South circles, as he is due, because he's looked very good so far. I think people are overlooking just how good CJ Stroud has been in 2 games so far. It's easy to overlook because they have gotten beat pretty handily twice. They have not won a game. They've not really been in a game. But Stroud has looked very impressive to me when I go back and watch the broadcast again. I've watched a little bit of the All-22 of both of these quarterbacks, and he's not looked in over his head at all. Maybe he has, and I've missed it, but from what I've seen, he's looked like he's been in command and not overwhelmed, like it would be very easy to do for any quarterback that's a rookie in that situation. His entire offensive line is dead. Like, I think at one point in the game last week, did they have 5 backups in or 4 backups in? I don't think they had a starter in at one point.
I want to say yes. Yeah.
Both tackles were definitely out. and the center was definitely out, starters that is, and one of their guards was definitely out. I don't know if the fifth guard survived or not, but
I know Laramie Tunsil injured himself in that game bad enough not to go this week in week 2. So
I don't see how you can put together a worse situation protection wise for a rookie quarterback on a team that already you got to protect your rookie, got to make him comfortable. They are doing the opposite of that, and yet Stroud has looked really good. His stats are pretty impressive to me. 626 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's 58 of 91, a 63.7% completion percentage. Has not thrown an interception. I don't believe he's committed a turnover yet. Despite being sacked 11 times, he's got a 91.2 rating. I think that his floor has been even higher to me than I expected it to be coming out. And I think that he's got a relatively high ceiling, maybe not as high as a guy like Anthony Richardson. You could argue maybe not even as high as a Bryce Young. But the floor has been really, really high. And I think that if you gun to my head, force me to pick one of these guys so far that I'm confident at worst will be a serviceable top 32 quarterback, starting level quarterback in the NFL, I'd probably pick Stroud because he's looked like at worst a low end starter to me so far.
I mean, yeah, when you're making Robert Woods look like a serviceable wide receiver too, like on an offense, like I think you're doing something right. I think he's also like elevated Nico Collins's game. I mean, Nico Collins is right now 5th in the league with 226 receiving yards. When CJ Stroud targets Nico Collins, CJ Stroud's passer rating is 120. So like he has a good connection there with his receivers right now.
He's making us eat our words on Tank Dell, by the way. Tank Dell looks
as
electric.
Well. Yes,
Tank Dell is the guy that I have circled as
well.
most likely to prove me super wrong in terms of my evaluation. I was so out on Tank Dell. He's been balling. I good for Tank, man.
I agree with you. Like if that line was at least just a slither of a bit more healthy, like we probably would see a lot more from CJ Stroud and see more dynamic plays from him. But right now, since he is just kind of fearing for his life on every single snap, like what he's doing with his game right now, I think is going in the right direction.
Okay, let's talk about the Jaguars now. Anything else on the Texans you want to mention? I think their defense has the potential to be really good. Talked about it.
I think it has the potential. I don't think it has been very good so far.
I agree. It's been underwhelming so far. I think it has the
potential. I think Will Anderson is good, obviously, but like then they're also missing Jalen Petrie. They're missing Jimmy Ward. They're missing a lot of their secondary. Like it's a very hurt team right now, and I think that is reflective of their 0-2 because like I think that with a healthy team, like I think they play closer to that Baltimore team in week 1.
Yes.
If their team is healthy, they probably are able to like scratch and claw their way back in that game with Anthony Richardson out. Like it's just a tough time right now because they're kind of bit with the injury bug.
Yeah. And then the Jaguars, I'm going to push back super hard on a lot of the numbers you've seen so far from Trevor Lawrence, talking about, how Trevor Lawrence is like hanging out with the dregs of the league as passers. So Logan asks, perfect timing. Jaguars have the most overrated quarterback in the division. No, they have the best quarterback in the division. It's not close. Trevor has been playing at times out of his mind in these 2 games. And this is a ultimate, do not just read the box scores. Go watch the tape. Watch what this guy has been doing. He has been playing so much better than the rest of the team's total performance has looked like. This dude had at least 3, arguably 4 touchdown passes that were sick last week against the Chiefs. That weren't touchdowns because the receiver couldn't keep his feet in bounds or couldn't catch the ball. Like, he's been balling. There were some clips from week 1 as well against the Colts where he made some out of his gourd passes. He's been really, really good. Has he been perfect? No. I would argue he's been a little bit inconsistent for sure and not like truly ascendant level. Like I'm not saying he's here all the way, but he's consistently in each game so far shown me flashes, multiple per game, where it's like, oh yeah, this guy's getting close. He's getting really close. And it's kind of right in line with what I thought they would be this summer, JT. We talked about how maybe this Jaguars team is just a really good quarterback head coach combo, and they've got some nice skill position players. And then the rest of the team is quietly really mid and maybe actively bad. That's kind of what I've seen so far. Logan says in the comments, counter, they would have been touchdowns if the ball was better placed. No, go watch. The ball was in the right place. The receivers didn't make a play. Go watch. At least 3 of them I will vouch for. The fourth I think there's room for argument on, but 3 of those passes that I'm referencing that were potential touchdowns, the ball was there, the play was made, it was a sick pass. The receiver didn't make a play, or they were just, their foot was an inch out or whatever. Jacob said 12 o'clock Kirk Cousins is the best. Is that what we're calling Trevor Lawrence? 12 o'clock Kirk Cousins?
I think he's just saying that 12 o'clock Kirk Cousins is the best quarterback in the league.
Oh, I see. Well, that is, I mean, there's no arguing with that. Although, they are an 0-2 team. We'll talk about, I want to talk about 2-0 and 0-2 teams later on in the show before we wrap up. But besides Trevor on the Jaguars, the other thing that I find interesting, their offense in general has been really, really underwhelming. And their play caller, Press Taylor, is new to play calling. Obviously, Doug Peterson called plays last season, I believe, for the majority of the season, if not all of it. Press Taylor is now calling plays, and people are already getting really restless and wanting Doug Peterson to take back over and play calling. I saw some Jaguars account, kind of tinfoil hat, but they had pictures to back it up. So, like, maybe in the first half of the game against the Chiefs, Doug Peterson, hands empty, reading glasses up on forehead, headset on, watching the field. Second half, Doug Peterson, glasses on the nose, suddenly a play sheet appears in his hand, and he's looking down at the play sheet. Did he take over the play calling in the second half? I do not know. I don't believe he's been asked about that so far, but I don't know if that's going to be long for Press Taylor. I don't know if it's going to be long before Press Taylor loses those play calling responsibilities, if he has not already, based on what we've seen so far. Their offense has been really, really underwhelming, especially with, again, the quarterback play that they have. Their offensive line is really lacking, I think, but their skill position players should be able to make up for some of that. And so far, that's not been the case. The play calling, the actual operation has been underwhelming so far. Anything else? I've seen a lot of numbers on the defense being like, oh, the defense is good. I'm calling cap on that too. It's been 2 weeks. I think the advanced metrics are giving them I'm still just based on the personnel. I will eat my words if through 6 or 8 weeks, they're still one of the best defenses in the league. I think that
I would agree with you.
I think it's a mirage right now.
I think they also just haven't played they haven't played a truly good skill position group. I think.
No, you lean into this take because you're wanting to say they haven't played a good offense yet, and I
don't want to say
the Chiefs' offense is not bad in general, but right now in that game in week 2, they were not good. It was the lowest. I saw a metric. It was the lowest offensive success rate that Chiefs team has had, I believe, since Patrick Mahomes became the starter. So that was not a good offense that they faced against that Chiefs team.
Yeah,
they're not playing well right now. Obviously the Colts are brand new. So
the Colts are brand new. I still think we're going to see this Jaguars team have success against the Texans next week.
Sure.
Maybe the Falcons give them a test with their truly good. I think they truly have good skill position players.
They'll test that running game or the running defense for sure.
And then I think you get to the true test is when they go to London to play the Bills. I think that will be the true test, and we'll see if this Jaguars team can hold up.
Well, that's the perfect one too, right there. That's what I want. I'm going to withhold my judgment of their defense until then, because you get Falcons the first week. Was that week 4, week 5? The Falcons?
Yes.
So week 5, they face the Falcons. They're going to absolutely test that running defense. I want to see that. Then the next week in London, Bills, you get the other half. They're going to test that passing defense. We'll get to see both elements tested, stress tested in their own individual way, scientific method, the ish out of this thing, and see what we got. I'm going to guess that it breaks under the stress, but we will see. So far, they have been statistically better than I anticipated them being. Let's talk about the Titans now. This is a Titans show. We are 48 minutes into today's recording, and we've not mentioned the Titans much at all. We can talk a little bit about some PFF numbers from last week if we want to start there. JT, Ryan Tannehill posted the best offensive PFF grade on the team, 92.5, which I went back and looked. It's his highest mark since week 2 of 2021, that big comeback in Seattle 2 seasons ago. His efficiency numbers improved dramatically from week 1 to week 2, which again, everybody's like, well, duh. Yes, let me give you the actual numbers though. His EPA and completion percentage over expectation. EPA per CPOE is the way that this is listed. 28th in week 1, bumped up to 7th in the league in week 2. His EPA 22nd to 13th in week 2. CPOE. I see. It's combined. So the combined average of CPOE and EPA, 28th to 7th, individually 22nd to 13th. And then his completion percentage over expectation, which not shocking for a guy that went, 84%, completed 20 out of 24 attempts, went from 27th in week 1 to 1st in the league in week 2. And then his offensive success rate from 26th to 12th. I also know that he led the league in week 2 for air yards per target. I believe 10.7 off the top of my head was the number, or I don't know if it was per target or per completion, but he led the league in that air yards metric nonetheless. So again, a very good week for Ryan Tannehill. I think that what we see on average from him is something probably in between the efficiency of week 2 and the disaster class of week 1. I don't think that it's like, it'd be cherry picking to say like week 1 was not him, week 2, that's him. It's somewhere in between, don't you think?
I would say so. I think this week will truly be a test for him for sure. Like, I think we saw bad, good. Let's see if we can get to a reasonable middle here.
Consistently average.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Because that's all you're asking him to be. Now, of course, if he continues this high grades into like the London game, then like maybe we'll have something to talk about. But like,
Sure.
I'm hoping it regresses a little bit, just because I think that's what we expected.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm expecting to be the case with him. And then elsewhere, second highest grade on the team, Tajay Spears, 83.9 grade, a very, very good number. He's electric. We've been saying it since March when we talked to Zach Lyons and Stoney Keeley down there at the Senior Bowl. That was actually February, I believe, about how fun this guy is to watch play football. And he remains so fun to just watch play football. He's got the juice. He's got the burst. He's got it. He's just really fun. And he's electric on the field. Mike Vrabel, in our presser with him on Monday, jokingly said that he was like, I promise we're going to block for Tajay once. We've not really done it yet. Like when we do, he's going to break off a 30, 40 yard run here or there. I think that he is kind of annoyed by the fact that Tajay has been forced to create chicken salad out of chicken, you know what, which you get the reference of now, JT. I know that he was doing a lot of, and Vrabel mentioned this, like he was doing a lot of creating in that game, consistently finding a couple yards here or there when it looked like there weren't any. Some numbers on him. He's averaging 6.91 yards per carry, which ranks third most in the NFL among running backs with 10 or more carries this season. He just has to get blockers.
No, he definitely does. And I mean, even without the blockers, I found this stat from our friend Danny Kelly, rushes with 4+ yards after contact. So after he's already got that contact. So, I mean,
I appreciate you clarifying that.
Just of course.
After contact. Yeah.
CMC with 14. It's like incredible. And then you have other guys on here like Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson both having 11 and 10 at that dynamic room. James Cook is getting that running game going. You have Raheem Mostert kind of coming back to form, James Conner, and then you have a group here of eight rushes with 4+ yards after contact, being David Montgomery, Tony Pollard, and Tajay Spears. Like Tajay Spears on 8 of his rushes has had 4+ yards after contact. Like this guy, if you give him space, like even if he doesn't get contact, like he just needs that room and he's going to go off. Like I'm
he's what the Titans have been looking for as the Derrick Henry compliment, because in that way, he's just like Derrick, right? He is the yak lord. He is the guy that brings the juice and brings a dynamic element to your running game. It's just different than what Derrick brings. And that's the perfect compliment, as we've been talking about for months now. It's what they were looking for in, drafting Darrington Evans 3 years ago, however long it was. Is what they were looking for in drafting Hassan Haskins a couple seasons ago, and they could not find it. They have now, I'm willing to say they've found it now in Tajay Spears. What else here? Chris Hubbard, fill in, veteran, old man on the right side of the offensive line, continues to be perfectly serviceable. I've been impressed by him. He had the 7th highest offensive grade, a very respectable 68.7 for the Titans in week 2. Dylan Radins, welcome back, young man. Young man put up a 3rd best offensive grade on the team, 74.3. Very impressed given the circumstances of having to fill in mid-game, just 8 months removed from an ACL recovery, first game back, really first. I mean, like people are saying first game back. It's also important to note that before he was gone, he wasn't really playing then either. So like, it's kind of just like if he plays a couple weeks in a row here at the beginning of the season for the Titans, it's going to be the first significant sustained action he's had in his NFL career, really. So I'm excited to see what he can do. He looked really, really good in the run game in particular in the tape that I watched. The tight ends are interesting to me, JT. Chig, supremacy, reigns supreme still. He put up a 4th best offensive grade per PFF on the team at 74 flat. But the other 2 tight ends in the Titans tight end room, Trayvon Wesco and Josh Wiley, brought up the very rear of the Titans offensive grades in week 1. Trayvon Wesco, a 30.8 PFF grade, and Josh Wiley, a 28.3. Both of them committing penalties in this game. Wesco with a dropped pass, Wiley with at least one big blown assignment blocking. They've been a hard watch. And I asked Mike Vrabel myself on Monday, like, what do you make of this tight end room so far as a whole? And he took his time at the beginning of the answer and was just like, I would say it's inconsistent. And that's a word he repeated 4 or 5 times in his response. But inconsistency was his key. And he made sure to clarify that he is confident that these guys on his team have what it takes to accomplish what he thinks that they need from their tight ends. But so far, that's not been a consistent case for them. And I think, personal editorializing on my part, it's a kind way of him saying Wesco and Wiley have been bad and they need to pick it up, or it might be time to go to the bullpen. Thomas Odukoya, welcome to the active roster. Like, at what point does that become a question?
And it's tough because, like, if there is one that I think they would,
go away. Logan Brady says
they would make that kind of bullpen call to Thomas Odukoya. It's probably Trayvon Wesco because of but then again, like the draft capital that you do invest in Josh Wiley, which, to my point, like, I don't think I've changed my tune on this once when I said that my least favorite draft pick of the Titans was Josh Wiley, because I just didn't like his game flat out.
You weren't a fan of him for the Titans before they picked him.
Yes,
you wrote a whole article.
I was not a fan. I was not a fan whatsoever of him. And like, I think he is just more of a project. So I don't see you getting rid of him. But like, I could see Thomas Odukoya being the one that replaces Trayvon Wesco if it continues to be this bad.
Right. What else? Jacob in the comments wants us to talk about the Titans not looking like they missed Christian Fulton. His honest opinion is that the Titans have better cornerback depth than they've had in a long time. Although we've been duality of man here, direct contradiction. Logan says that the Titans missed Fulton badly, that Trey Avery got destroyed. I disagree with both of you. I think you're high. You're too high and too low. Trey Avery did not get destroyed. He got picked on. He did pretty well, in my opinion. I mean, he was targeted 15 times, allowed just over 100 yards passing. For a replacement level cornerback being picked on like that over and over and over. I mean, 15 targets in one game is kind of crazy. I think he did perfectly fine. Was it great? No, but was he drowning? Absolutely not. He was containing and tackling well almost all day long. A couple of slips here or there, but no major dramatic mistakes that cost the Titans in a big way. I disagree that they didn't miss Christian Fulton. I think that they were fine without Christian Fulton. And to your point, Jacob, of them having better cornerback depth than they've had in a while, I agree. And I think that we talked about that in the offseason about how, you have some faith in Trey Avery. You have some faith in Sean Murphy-Bunting coming in, and he had a really nice bounce back game. Look at the defensive numbers according to PFF. He was the leading defender for the Titans in week 2 with an 84.1 grade, which was a really nice little comeback for him. He was not horrible in week 1, but he left a lot to be desired in week 1, had some blown coverages. In week 2, he was balling. I know our friend of the show, our buddy James Foster, has a montage of plays from Sean Murphy-Bunting on his Twitter account that he posted, I think, earlier today or yesterday at some point, that you should go check out. But he made some really nice plays, especially in press man, that if he can play that level of ball all year, then you really do have some significant depth in this team, assuming Christian Fulton can come back. Christian Fulton in press man. Roger McCreary continues to be serviceable in press man. Sean Murphy-Bunting plays like that in press man. You've got a nice press man group. You can play some tight ball. You can play some aggressive ball in the secondary. Elsewhere, Jeffrey Simmons and Tier Tart, they ate on the interior. Those guys both had really nice PFF grades. Jeffrey Simmons 3rd on the team, Tier Tart 7th, both with north of 68 grades, which are both very good. A quiet day for Danico Autry and Arden Key, which you give them a break for because in week 1, we were unstoppable. Those two. In week 2, they were not so great. Harold Landry brought up the rear per PFF, which they're always not really high on Harold Landry. They're just his style of play does not really, I don't think it works well with their algorithm for some reason, but he had a 43.1 grade, was the 17th graded guy on the team. I'm not concerned about him for a while. I won't be, because again, he's returning from an ACL. He's not played football in a long time. I don't think the first month of his return should be a lot of cause for concern. And we did finally at the end of that game see him make a splash play. We saw him get home and get his first sack since 2022, or 2021 rather. And so I think that he'll get increasingly better week by week. I think every single week you'll see improved speed, impact from him. So I'm not concerned about him right now. In general, maybe this is a hot take, JT. I feel like this defense has underperformed a bit to my expectations. And to be fair, it's because my expectations for them were so lofty. I thought and talked about how I thought this defense would be a top 5, maybe top 3 at some point by the end of the year defense in the league, just in general, the entire defensive group. And so my expectations, the bar I have mentally for them is very, very high. Have they been bad? No. But have they lived up to that elite defense league-wide standard? Not yet for me. The front has, although I think the front sneaky had a fine game in week 2. They weren't as impactful as they could have been. The secondary had a nice bounce back in week 2, but it was not great. And in week 1, they were an active liability. So I'm not a fan of how they've played so far. Again, it's just 2 weeks. They've been perfectly fine. So I guess I'll take it back. It's not that I'm not a fan of how they played. I just think that they're capable of more. I think that they know they're capable of more. I think that the personnel just on paper is capable of more. And I want to see that. One specific metric that I can bring up on the defense, this is a chart of pre-snap 2 high shell coverages for NFL offenses have faced so far this season, which basically is just how many times this year, what percentage of the time this year when you're on offense is the defense giving you a 2 high safety look. And the Titans are, let's see, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sixth, the 6th fewest times so far this season through 2 weeks. Just 40% of their offensive looks have been against a 2 high shell, which tells you that the defenses that they have faced so far have not been particularly worried about or willing to respect the Titans' ability to stretch the field. They're basically saying, you know what, we don't think you're going to be able to go over the top here and burn us deep. We're not going to just give you the underneath stuff. We're going to play pretty aggressive. And after connecting on that 75-yarder to Traylon Burks in week 2, connecting on the 49-yarder to Chris Moore in week 2, 2 big shot plays where they do win over the top. Off the top of my head, at least one of them had a 1 high safety look. Maybe both did. Maybe the defenses now will start respecting that ability to stretch the field more. I would assume the Titans need to prove that more than just one game. Like, let's see it happen again. But if they can start ripping off one of those deep shots a game and actually connecting on it, they will force teams to respect them over the top more. And that will open up more on the underneath, allow Ryan Tannehill, very Kirk Cousins mode, just slice and dice, take what's given to you, be efficient and effective on the underneath routes, the crossers, the outs. Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears will have more room to run, fewer stacked boxes, fewer bodies closer to the line of scrimmage. All of that will be improved by, if they can, their ability to stretch the field and force defenses to take them more seriously over the top. Any more thoughts on the Titans, JT, before we do a couple more topics?
I was just gonna say on that, like that, it'll be very interesting this week, and this is kind of like a primer. I'm very interested to see if they continue to target Traylon Burks and Chris Moore with that deep ball like they did this week, because of how good this Cleveland secondary has gotten off like a start this season. Like, the only way that the Pittsburgh was able to really make them pay is with George Pickens and going deep and making them pay deep down the field, as right. George Pickens scored that 70-yard touchdown last night. Like, do we see more of that this week? I'm not sure. So it'll be something interesting to look at.
Yeah, I think that secondary that they're facing in week 3 is the group that's been playing at the highest level. That Saints secondary was playing at a high level for sure, but this Cleveland secondary has really impressed me, so it will be a challenge. let me talk about this real quick, JT. This is such a it's a take that I have that I think is funny and interesting, and we'll put it out there. And it's not super important, but I'm curious, folks that are listening with us live, give me your thoughts on these classifications that I have. Agree, disagree, go to Broadway Sports Media's YouTube channel, find this live stream in the comments. Let me know what you think. I have on Twitter this afternoon, I was bored over lunch and was like, let me just, what do I want to talk about? I classified the teams that are 2-0 and 0-2 so far by whether they are good, bad teams or bad, good teams, or bad, bad teams or bad, good teams. So basically just of the teams that their record indicates they're good or bad, are they actually good or bad? Let me start with the 0-2 teams, the winless teams through 2 weeks. This is what I have seen. This is not a prediction necessarily of what they're going to be down the road. It's just in a vacuum. Here's what I think you can say about these teams. These are the good, bad teams. These are the teams that are 0-2, but I've actually come away with positive things to say about them, optimism for them. The Patriots, I think, are the best 0-2 team right now. And I have no reason to believe that this Patriots team is going to actually threaten for anything or threaten anyone this year. I do think they'll be pesky. I do think Bill Belichick has it as a defensive coordinator and as a special teams guru. He's kind of post offense. Like we've reached the post offensive phase of Bill Belichick. He clearly is just, it's like he's already beaten the game. And now he's trying to go back and like do all the like let me do it without ever collecting coins. I'll do it without any boosts. Like he's doing challenges now is what
it's like story. It's like story video game modes where it's like, okay, now you can replay the whole game again, but now everything is 10 times more difficult.
No,
it's
exactly.
Like plus
yes.
mode. That's literally
that's what it is. He's just doing challenges now. He's trying to speed run and stuff. He's not trying to beat the game. He's already beaten the game. So I think that the Patriots they've impressed me. Mac Jones has been serviceable. Their receiver core horrible on paper. It's been fine. Their defense has been really good. I've been impressed. Like, you know, our guy, Christian Gonzalez, first round cornerback, looked awesome the other night. I think that they're a very good, bad team. The Texans, I think, are a good, bad team. I've had positive things to say about them. The first half Broncos have looked pretty good. Both of their games so far, first half, you've been like, all right, Broncos, look at that. They fixed Russ. Sean Payton is cooking. And then the second half, not so much. But the first half Broncos, I think, are a good, bad team. The Cardinals are a good, bad team. The question, of course, is why? What do you, Rich Gannon? He's got that fire in his gut. He's taking the bus to work. So, like, I get it. But what are we doing? Being good? This is not the goal. We need to lose as many games as possible. This is the goal of our franchise. Why are we a good, bad team so far? Josh Dobbs at the helm. They've had some dog in them, even though they're 0-2. And then the Chargers. If you just take, I said Chargers, but in parentheses, not Staley. Take him out of it. So the Chargers, I think, are a good, bad team. Just like they've scored 50 plus points and committed no turnovers through 2 weeks, and they've not won a game. So, like, I think that they're a good, bad team. Just Staley doesn't get to be a part of the good, bad. He doesn't get the medal. The rest of the team does. The bad teams, the Bears. No one's arguing with this, right? I mean, the high school defense, dysfunctional offense. Justin Fields looks bad. He seemingly is refusing to take off and run and do the thing that we know he's good at. He wants to be a pocket passer. It's not working. Bears are a bad team. The Vikings, defense is bad. They looked bad on Thursday Night Football last week. I think the offense is going to be fine down the road, but so far it's not been super great. They've got a bunch of turnovers that they need to clean up. I think they're a bad team right now. The Panthers look like a bad team right now. Name me one thing that's encouraging about the Panthers right now.
Adam Thielen had a nice night.
That's encouraging if there's no future for this franchise beyond this year. Old man Adam Thielen as a rental is looking fine. Sure. Okay. Second half Broncos are a bad team. They've blown 2 games they should have arguably won. The Bengals, your Bengals, how are they a bad team? I don't know, but can you argue through 2 weeks in a vacuum that they've not been a bad team so far? In a vacuum. It's not like I think everyone expects them to get better. I do, you do, but these 2 games alone, they've been bad.
When they start putting things together and they look like they're going to amount to a comeback against the Baltimore Ravens this past week, and then Chidobe Awuzie loses to Nelson Aguilar, like
it's a tough scene.
It's tough. I don't know, man. I think they're the best of the bad teams. Like, okay. I would challenge the Patriots are the best of the 0-2 teams because I still think I
mean, by the end of the season, I think that they will be. But I'm doing this judged on just the 2 games we've seen. I think
I don't know.
The
I don't
Patriots
know,
have played
man.
2 better games than the Bengals have so far. That's my take on them. And then
Agree to disagree.
okay, that's fine. And then the final bad team category, I just took the Staley parentheses from the Chargers and moved, so Staley is in the bad team category. Just Brandon Staley, because he is bad. Now the 2-0 teams, okay? Let's classify the 2-0 teams. The good teams. These are the teams that are good in record and also I think good teams. The Dolphins are the clear and obvious one for me. Like they are good. Based on these 2 games alone, I'm not sure they lose a game this year. I don't know how you stop that amazing offensive scheme. I think their defense is legit. You stop it by killing Tua. That's how you stop it. That's like, other than that, I don't know what you do. The Dolphins look good. The 49ers are the team that are threatening most to make my preseason hot takes look ridiculous. I thought the Niners would be bad by way of their offense struggling with their quarterback situation. Brock Purdy, the cult of Brock Purdy, is alive and well and strong as ever. He has looked great. I want to see them play more difficult teams, but so far they are a good team. The Ravens are a good team, despite probably being the most injured team so far early in the season. They've got a lot of key injuries, and they have looked good so far. Lamar Jackson has looked good so far. Zay Flowers has looked good so far. Dude is a star. Just keep him healthy. I love Zay Flowers and what he's done so far and what he provides to Lamar Jackson in the passing game. Zay Flowers alone, if you took the rest of the receiving core out, just having Zay Flowers, that's the best receiving option situation that Lamar Jackson has ever had, in my opinion. I love Zay Flowers. And then the Falcons, but in parentheses, not Ritter. I got to take Ritter out of it. The rest of the team, I think, has been good so far. I've been impressed by Bijan Robinson, good pick. 8th overall, who cares? Good pick. He's looked good. He's looked like he's got the juice. He's looked like he's worth every penny that they spent on him in draft capital. I'm in on what they did with him. I'm in on what they're doing elsewhere. And the defense has been sneaky fine.
I would say the defense outside of the secondary, like minus Ritter and the secondary, for how star-studded that secondary is, I think
you're right.
Been really bad.
It should be better. I'm with you. Maybe we take the secondary out too. But so no Ritter, no secondary. The rest of the Falcons team has been good. Bad good teams. The Eagles, man, they've been bad good so far. I think they've been sneaky bad good, especially last week. We sat at the bar at Boom Boss Pizza in Spring Hill. Shout out Boom Boss, fantastic pizza. They didn't look like they were playing their best game or even close to it. It looked like a C+ game from them on Thursday night in week 1 against the Patriots. The Patriots, made it a game all the way to the end. The Eagles have been bad good so far. I think that they'll get better, but so far it's been underwhelming. The Saints, definitely bad good. I don't know when their next great opponent they play is, but I think that they'll get killed by the next very good team they play. I don't think it'll be close. I don't think that they're in the class of the best teams in the league. The Buccaneers, which in parentheses, I just said, LOL, keep going. Like, I think everybody's rooting for the Buccaneers. Like, it's fun. It's hilarious. I don't think it's going to be sustainable. But it's awesome. And then the same thing for the Commanders, Bucks and Commanders, 2-0, undefeated, never in doubt. The Sam Howell and Baker Mayfield led Bucks and Commanders look fun. They look good. They've played bad teams so far, but I want to see them. Continue and keep the. I think that they're mirages, but they're fun mirages. So I'm in. And then just the third category was just, man, I don't know. I don't know, like, what I put the Cowboys in here. Can you play a team that's not from New Jersey, please? Don't play the Giants and the Jets without Aaron Rodgers, and then I'll believe. I know Cowboys fans are going crazy over all the advanced metrics so far have been like, Cowboys are by far the best team in the league. Yeah, because they played the Giants and the Jets. Let's give them a real competition, and then let's see what's going on. And then I put Ritter in here too. I don't know, man. Is he a real quarterback? Every time I see Ritter, I think that the girl on the plane, that back there is not real. That's Desmond Ritter to me. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess, like,
do you
I
disagree?
want to. I came into the season thinking that Desmond Ritter is better than people think.
I did too. My eyes.
Jury's still out, though.
Tell me different so far. Yeah, it's I don't know. I didn't put him in bad. I put him in I don't know. Okay, that's a silly thing that we just did, but I found that funny. One more thing before we get to the news with JT and we get out of here. Best Bet Gauntlet preview. We're gonna do this more on Tuesdays. JT and I, we made this clear in the best bet gauntlet to start the year, but in case you want to bet with us, we are, what are we?
Which, by the way,
13 and
7. 13 and 7 now
13 and
because
7. This is true.
because I did go 5-0. So
yes, you did go 5-0. First perfect performance of the season. Bravo to you, sir. We are 13 and 7 as a show. JT, a very hot start at 8 and 2. I am at 500, 5 and 5. We'll take it. We're just going to get better from here.
I started the inverse of what I was last season.
True. You started 2 and 8 last year and then got back to 500. You are 8 and 2. So that just means it's going to fall apart now, right? Is that what that means?
I hope not.
I hope not either. But as we look for the best lines during the week, after the Monday night games are over, so on Tuesday mornings, if you're not familiar with how betting works, the books put out their fresh lines for the week. They re-release them. The lines Tuesday morning are the official lines that will then be adjusted up and down for the rest of the week until we get to Thursday night and then to Sunday. So we're not going to grab any look-ahead lines before the end of the week, before the last game ends on Monday night and you get to Tuesday morning. But starting Tuesday mornings, JT and I are going to be looking for lines. And if we think that there are some lines here or there that are bound to move throughout the week, and we have reason to believe so, we're going to go on Twitter at Easton Freeze, at JT_Runke. We're going to explain why we want to grab this line now and kind of lock it, freeze it for potential use in the best bet gauntlet on Thursday. And we have two. I have two of those, JT. I don't know if you have any, but maybe you just agree with these. I have two that I wanted to lock in today. I already tweeted about them this morning. We retweet them on the Hot Read podcast account, so check them out there. But two lines that you should grab now before they move, and they may have already moved. I'm not sure. One is Buffalo. Okay, Buffalo -6.5 at Washington. Last I checked, the juice was starting to lean Buffalo, so that line's trying to move. People are betting up Buffalo. They're making Buffalo a more expensive side. But this is really simple to me. They're on the road at Washington, a 2-0 Washington team that is a mirage, right? Who's Washington beaten? They barely beat the Cardinals. And then they barely beat the Broncos. Okay?
Because Russ couldn't convert on a 2-point conversion.
Great. They were down by 18 points to the Broncos at one point. So, Buffalo is 10 times better a team than they've seen so far this year. Buffalo under a touchdown. They are a very good team. And we talked about it last week. I don't have the number right in front of me, but when they win big. They more often than not, when they win, they're winning by 10 plus points than they are winning by a touchdown or less. So they blow teams out regularly when they win, and I think that they're going to win here. And then Washington's a bad team that's beaten two bad teams. It's very much a mirage look. So grab Buffalo while they're still under the touchdown. You can get that -6.5 now.
Still can right now.
You still can right now? Okay.
Yes.
The other one that I don't...
Unlike this one.
Can you not get this one anywhere?
No, it's now at +3.
Okay. So
at all books.
Hopefully people saw this on my Twitter account because it was at +3.5 this morning when I tweeted it. Tennessee +3.5 at Cleveland. Before the Nick Chubb injury and their Monday night game, the look ahead, you could have got him at 4.5. But even this morning, you could have got him at 3.5. Tennessee getting the field goal and the hook. We say it every week. We'll say it again. Mike Vrabel, as an underdog of 3 or more, is 23-9-1 against the spread. That's an auto bet, right? So this is an auto bet if you can get it over. Actually, this stat says 3 or more. So even at 3, he is still 23-9-1 against the spread. It's still an auto bet by the numbers here to grab Tennessee on the road as a 3-point dog. But if you can get it 3.5, even better. Cleveland is coming off this brutal divisional fight where they lost Nick Chubb for the year. Deshaun Watson took a beating. You love getting Tennessee the field goal and the hook. Those are the two lines that you should lock in now. Buffalo -6.5 at Washington. Tennessee +3.5 or even 3 at Cleveland. I would say Tennessee is going to probably continue to move, may even get to 2.5. So grab the 3 now while you can, if you can still get that full field goal. JT, do you agree with these that I'm locking in? Did they look like tasty sides to you? And are there any that you want to lock in before we get to Thursday's show?
I mean, we can just end up drafting 4 and 4 because one of us is going to take one of these and the other is going to take the other. And
so
I'm
you're
not
in on
worry
these as
about
well.
it. I'm in on both of these.
Okay.
Everything else, I'm waiting to just see how it shakes out.
Yeah,
very, very early in the week.
It's an interesting
these
slate.
are the two. It is. Like I said, it is time for the big boys to come out. We had 2 weeks now, but these are where the lines start to get a little tricky. In week 3, we gotta stack up. We gotta grind out these lines this week. So.
All right, we've gone along today, but we can't get out of here without getting to a little bit of Titans news. So without further ado, this is producer JT with the news.
Yeah, and we can start with 2 or 3 Titans moves that they made today earlier on, with the Titans releasing Jaden PV from I believe the active 53 man, correct? They moved,
no,
or from the practice squad.
No. He was released from the active.
Yes, so Jaden Peavy,
Yes.
defensive lineman, was removed from the or released from the 53-man roster, and they signed Kyle Pecco to the 53-man roster from the practice squad, and then they also release Michael Dwumfor from the practice squad. So a lot of movement for defensive linemen today with the Titans, and then also today the Titans host 3 players for tryouts today, which was a very interesting note that came in right as we were about to record here, with Tennessee trying out tight end Kendall Blanton from Missouri, defensive back Anthony Chelsea from Coastal Carolina, and then defensive back Michael Ojemudia from Iowa.
Okay. So with the defensive lineman movement, I'd imagine they release Michael Dwumfor to sign Jaden Peavy to the practice squad, moving him from 53 down to practice squad, Dwumfor from practice squad to unsigned. Kyle Pecco has been elevated the last 2 weeks and has gotten some reps in actual games so far. And he's like, they like him as a veteran presence, as a swing guy on the defensive line. He's played fine. I think he's been good. He's been serviceable. So I think that's a fine move. With Peavy, it's just a little bit disappointing. There was a lot of hype for him in training camp preseason before they got started. It just did not translate, unfortunately, to real game reps. And so he's still young. I think that he'll continue to get better. But for now, not a guy that they want to keep around on the active roster.
Yeah, then we can move on to a couple stats here regarding Derrick Henry this week. So this past game, Derrick Henry passed Willis McGahee for 41st on the all-time rushing yards leaderboard today. He sits at 8,478 career yards. He should pass Jim Taylor to enter the top 40 within the next 2 weeks or so.
Yep.
He also passed Ricky Waters for sole possession of 22nd place in rushing touchdowns at 79. And if he scores this weekend or any other time this season, he will become the 7th NFL player in the Super Bowl era to reach 8,000 rushing yards and 80 touchdowns within his first 8 seasons, joining Eric Dickerson, Barry Sanders, Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Adrian Peterson. Some very good company to be in.
Yeah, all I have to say about this is I saw an article from our buddy Paul Kaharski about whether or not Tajay Spears' success and presence on this Titans team is going to hinder Derrick Henry's trip to Canton, his road to Hall of Fame enshrinement. And I totally understand and get where he's coming from with that line of thinking. I see there's so many of these stats where Derrick Henry is one of 6 guys to do this, one of 8 guys to do this, one of 3 guys to do this in NFL history, right here. One of 7 players to reach 8,000 yards and 80 touchdowns in their first 80 seasons. Joining Eric Dickerson, Hall of Famer, Barry Sanders, Hall of Famer, Sean Alexander, Hall of Famer, LT, Hall of Famer, AP, future Hall of Famer. Like, I think he's already got it in the bag, guys. I really do. Can he bolster that and lock it up for sure with more? He's at 8,400, just shy of 8,500 career yards, getting to 10,000 would all but seal it. I think he's already there. So I get that line of thinking, but I'm not too worried about him not being in Canton. I think he's already a Hall of Famer, in my opinion, at least.
I would agree with that. And then finally here, just one other note to keep an eye on before the Titans play the Cleveland Browns this weekend. Of course, with Nick Chubb being done for the season, Kareem Hunt visited his old team, the Cleveland Browns, today. No word on if a deal gets done there yet, but could be interesting. Obviously, he already knows the system. He's familiar with it. I would be surprised if we saw him this week, to be honest, if they get a deal done. But who knows? We've seen crazier things happen. So maybe you'll see Kareem Hunt out there against the Titans this week.
Wouldn't shock me. I think it's possible that, obviously familiarity there. Kareem has been waiting to join a team. Maybe this is where he lands. All right, that is the news with producer JT. Appreciate you. Appreciate all of our live listeners today. As we are done for the day, we'll be back on Thursday live from Boom Boss Pizza in Spring Hill. Reminder, gift card giveaway. First person that shows up on Thursday afternoon comes and introduces themselves and says, hey, I'm a fan of the show, or hey, I hate your guts, but I know who you are and I'm here for the show. Either way, we appreciate you guys and would love to have you come hang out with us in Spring Hill on Thursday. Show live at 5:30 p.m. before Thursday Night Football. Then we'll be watching Thursday Night Football at the bar, hanging out with whoever is in the neighborhood. So come hang out, get a free meal with a free gift card giveaway if you're the first person in the door to come say, hey. Make sure you're subscribed, follow, rate, review, wherever you get your good podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Stitcher, all those places. Make sure you subscribe to the Hot Read podcast feed to get all of the live shows that you miss the next day, the produced versions in your podcast feed waiting for you. Make sure you subscribe to Broadway Sports Media on YouTube. We want that subscriber count to continue to grow. Broadway Sports Media on YouTube. Subscribe. It's super easy. It's free to you, and it helps us out. And then make sure you're following us on social media at Hot Read Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Until Thursday at Boomba's Pizza, for producer JT, I'm your host, Easton Freeze. Have a great couple of days. We'll talk to you later.